Yes, I have a Volvo, big truck. It's a 2024 truck, 800k miles, but runs very strong. 1099, you'll make very big money here. 3,000 a week. We have safety assistants working 24/7. If you run out of hours, they give you fresh clock.
Isn't this illegal?
Oh, it's only illegal if you get caught.
What's going on, good and wonderful people? It's Sage here, and I'm back with another banger today. So we have an update on our favorite entertainer in this trucking world, chasing Andrew Jackson, who got fired from his fuel hauling company a few months ago. And he didn't disclose which company he worked for until pretty much all hell broke loose. As you guys can see, he was sued for over $50,000 in missing freight. His car broke down, his truck broke down, but at least trucking is a hobby and it's for entertainment, in his words. Now, he did a great job of hiding which company he worked for, considering how big of an audience he has on YouTube, the fact that he is a public figure. However, I do remember making a video a few months ago reviewing Quality Carriers, the company that I work for, and KDS Trucking, shout out to KDS Trucking if you're watching this, he actually commented on the video, and as you guys can see on the screen, he says, "Don't do that while you're working at Gemini." Now, that pretty much flew over my head. I pretty much brushed it off because, like I said, he did a pretty good job of concealing which company he worked for, going as far as using AI cheap fakes in his thumbnails to make it look like he worked at Circle K. But I would never think that Loves would hire Andrew, considering his work history and the fact that the company is very strict on who they hire when it comes to their job history.
Sometimes we're going to shy away from some candidates that may be job hopping every couple months, or if we see that, maybe you've been driving for 5 years and you've held 5 jobs within the last 5 years or 6 jobs. I mean, that could potentially be a red flag.
But hey, if you're Andrew, who's pretty much finessed his way in the trucking industry, you could just list your motor carrier as your previous employer and say that you worked there for 5 years and list a bunch of other carriers that don't exist anymore, and you can pretty much get away with finessing your way through the application.
Then I heard Dirty Broke said, hey, they don't really like taking people that's got a lot of jobs. I said, oh, that's a secret? I went and put another application in with way less jobs listed. And all of a sudden, I was qualified. I had 5 or less jobs listed. That was it, 5 or less. Man, after that, I had a job over at Night Transportation. I worked there, 3 years. Wait a minute, before I did that night. I worked at W&W Logistics, 3 years. I'm already knowing they out of business, they can't verify.
Well, guys, there you have it. That's the secret sauce. There is no way they can verify your employment history if the companies don't exist. Now, lying on his application was not the reason why he got fired from Loves. He actually got fired for breaking the lunch break policy, whatever that means. And to be 100% honest with you, I'm not sure what happened to him after he got demonetized and he wasn't posting as consistently. And in fact, in his words, he says that not everything gets shown on YouTube. I was under the impression that he decided to run his cash trucks because he talks about making a $40,000 profit, buying a house in 2025, but no, Andrew went in a different direction, it seems. Now, once Andrew returned to YouTube after getting monetized, he told us that he worked for a Russian trucking company. Now, guys, I would like to emphasize that he still owns Cash Equipment. He's been owning Cash Equipment for years, and his trucks are indeed parked and paid for, just in case anybody was wondering.
I've been asking about the trucks the last 6 years. I need y'all to switch it up this time.
But apparently somebody told him that it was better to run for the Russians as opposed to running his own authority. So he put that theory to the test.
Now, I went on a little experiment tour, experiment tour around the country. Because I was told, since I'm, sitting at the house for the winter, not making no money, that there was a specific section of trucking in a specific area of the United States to where, they provide you with, latest ready to shine, all brand new trucks. You don't got to own no cash truck, and they pay this gob amount of money.
So for 6 weeks, he decided to go to a Chicagoland 1099 Russian carrier as Russian. I put Russian in air quotes because they're not really Russian. But he decides to go there as a company driver, 1099, not W-2, because these companies are not paying anybody wages and benefits and all that good stuff that shoe shine in his words. Maybe they can't afford it, but then again, I find that hard to believe considering that they steal company driver and lease driver escrows, EOD fees, along with all these other unnecessary fees, allegedly.
So Narc says SuperEGO requires $5K down. Now, I know that to be a fact because god dang, who was it? Coach and a couple other people paid $5K and they left. Now, I don't know how they're getting I know how they're getting the trucks. They're making $35 million off your guys' escrows and shit, and then they turn around and invest and pay cash for trucks.
Now, these Eastern European carriers are very notorious for paying drivers or advertising that they're going to pay drivers 65 to 70 cents a mile. If they're a company driver, if they're a lease driver, they get 88 to 90% of the load. And they also always advertise that nice Volvo truck on Facebook Marketplace. And if you're a company driver, they pretty much say you make $3,000 a week take home. Now, this is the opposite of an American trucking company because more than likely you will be a W-2 and they'll probably pay you anywhere from 38 to 50 cents a mile. You will most likely net anywhere from $300 to $700 a week as a new driver coming into this industry. Now, if you want to experiment like Andrew did, then these companies can potentially be very lucrative for you as opposed to the mega carriers, the traditional mega carriers. Or maybe you're a desperate truck driver or a SAP driver that wants to take advantage of the opportunities that these companies may offer. Hey, do it at your own risk. Now, one of the reasons why these companies may be lucrative to truck drivers is the fact that you can cheat your logs, allegedly.
I'm gonna turn this video in and whistle blow. There it is.
Whether or not you realize it, a lot of these companies charge an EOD fee, allegedly, and that EOD fee is used to contact that hotline that can, erase your clock, give you a new clock, allegedly, of course, but that's probably what that EOD fee is for because no American trucking company is charging you to use their EOD. That makes absolutely no sense. Now, as for the company that Andrew worked for, he claims that that particular company cannot exactly erase your EOD and give you a new 14-hour clock, but what they can do is they can revise your time and edit it to give you time in the split sleeper berth or whatever, and they can actually give you extra drive, something like that. It's very confusing and convoluted, but they do some shady stuff because he's not just paying that EOD fee for nothing. He's paying it for a particular reason. They are doing something shady with that.
When I called the hotline, if they could give me a full clock, they would. But if they couldn't, they'll tell me how many hours they can give me. For example, the load I was on yesterday, he said, hey, I can only give you 6 hours. They don't just give you a full clock. They going to tell you how many hours of driving time they can add on to what you got going on. If they can give you a full clock, they're going to go over it and see.
Now, this is why the EOD laws and the laws around the EOD need to be examined, investigated, possibly reformed, because it appears that these EODs are very easy to manipulate. Hackers can get into them very easily, especially if it's simple for these Eastern Europeans to manipulate within 5 seconds. And personally, all that, EOD editing to potentially help you make more money, because at the end of the day, are you really making more money if they're making all these unnecessary deductions? Maybe some weeks you can, some weeks you can't. It's not really consistent, and I just don't think it's worth it. It's all just a failure by design. If you think that you can't get ahead at the American trucking company, you definitely won't be able to get ahead at the Eastern European trucking company for sure. In fact, these companies are so shady that they don't even run contractual dedicated freight. Andrew's company in particular, and I'm pretty sure all companies are like this, they get their freight from the DAT load board. And because of how they operate and how shady they are, I don't think you'll ever see some Eastern European carrier out of Chicagoland hauling like a Target trailer or a Walmart trailer, something like that. So, as I mentioned in the video, somebody told Andrew, maybe it was his friend Lottie Dottie. Somebody told him that it was much more profitable to run for the Eastern Europeans as opposed to running his own mega motor carrier. Turns out that experiment failed. It's not, in fact, true because of the fact that they're using freight off the DAT load board and not contractual freight, because Andrew actually had contracts that were, I guess, in the millions of dollars back in the day when he was running under his own authority. So, yeah, that's definitely not the better alternative at all. In fact, Andrew got stranded in Wyoming working for this company out of Chicago.
The speed limit went from 80 miles per hour all the way to 55. Then it went to 45. Then Google Maps started talking about 3-hour wait up ahead, and I'm like, I ain't got time to be stuck. I ain't got no change, so I end up pulling up right here. Coming through Cheyenne, Wyoming. Let's talk about that first. First time going through Cheyenne, Wyoming in the wintertime. And boy, did I get a hell of an experience. I did. I got a hell of an experience, from the black ice to the supersonic winds that I never experienced before.
And this really just highlights the problem with these Eastern European carriers. They don't live, dispatch at least, does not live in America. They dispatch in Serbia, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Lithuania, some Slavic country in Eastern Europe. They're not located here. They don't know what the road conditions are like. They don't know what truckers face on a daily basis. So how can they effectively dispatch if they don't know these things? Or maybe they do know and they just don't care. Now, there were several other shenanigans that Andrew dealt with this particular company, including breakdowns. But the most egregious of them all was wage theft.
Now, the Russians cleaned my paycheck out. My last, it was not supposed to be my last paycheck, but they went on to clean me out anyway. Gave me $100. Y'all remember that $200 EFS check? Remember they wanted me to go save a driver? They gave me the EFS check. And what do you think the settlement said when I got it Friday, or Wednesday, I should say? But see, I'm not surprised because y'all ain't seen the videos. But in reality, every check that I got, they owed me money on it. They owed me money from the previous check. It's like, bro, how y'all do this? Every week y'all gotta wait to shorten my check. You either not putting loads on now, or either, the number that's on here ain't 32%.
Say what you want about American trucking companies, but I promise you ain't dealing with issues with payroll week after week after week. There is usually transparency when it comes to your paychecks. I get paid 50 cents a mile. I drive 3,000 miles a week. Therefore, I make $1,500. Easy, simple. Okay. Now, this convoluted mess that Andrew went through, he got paid 32% of the load, but at the same time, he didn't know how much he was grossing, and then he had to do like a driver rescue, and he got paid on the EFS card, and then the Eastern Europeans took the money from him from the EFS card, so essentially he did the rescue for free. Yeah, no. But at the end of the day, what are drivers going to do that are going through this? Because if they actually reported this to the authorities, then I think there would be something like an open investigation, because you don't really hear attorneys representing drivers in cases like this, because if there was like an open investigation that went on, they'd find that, there was some manipulation of ELDs, the drivers participated in it, that can incriminate the drivers. So therefore, I don't think drivers report this stuff because they can actually risk incriminating themselves in the process. So that's how they get away with it. And all we can do is really speak up about it until there's an attorney out there that can represent us. Now, if you're a driver that's willingly participating in this because you fell for the $3,000 a week in the Volvo truck, then you are on the hook for whatever happens to you. Now, with that being said, I'll end the video here. If you enjoy content like this, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. I'm Tasia Woods, and I'll see you next time.